Hello and welcome to this special series of Ingram Micro's B2B Tech Talk podcast, Coffee with Women in Tech, with your host, Harpreet. This is a show where incredible women in technology share their stories and successes. Why should a woman consider a career in tech? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this series, where you'll learn why tech is just the place to be for women.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Coffee with Women in Tech podcast. I am your host, Harpreet Narang, and today I have with me Kelly Humpleby, Marketing Director at Bespoke-xyz. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Hi, Harpreet. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you with us today. So, tell me a bit more about Bespoke-xyz. What do they do, and a bit more about your role in the business?
Yeah, of course. Well, Bespoke itself is in its 8th year now, and it initially started out life as an Excel consultancy, working with some huge companies across lots of different sectors, helping them with all of their Excel requirements. And after a few years, it became quite apparent when working on these projects with these clients that they needed a much deeper understanding of their business intelligence, which was what led the business then to go on to become a Microsoft Gold partner and specialize in Power Platform. And I've now been with Bespoke for 18 months and look after all of the marketing and numerous different things that we do in terms of lead gen, customer comms, and more recently working at developing our partner channel. So building out those important networks.
Great. So how did you start in technology? You said you've been at Bespoke for 18 months. So what about your career before then?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a journey actually when I think back and reflect on that. So initially I finished college having done business and marketing. I was really keen to get into the world of work. So I started working in a sales and marketing role for a family-run business, which supplied bar equipment to pub and restaurant chains. It was a really good experience. I had a great manager there who really pushed me to be my best, and was incredibly mindful that I was actually of a really young age. But I was, it was a good experience because I got to deal with people in businesses such as Green King, Bass Brewers and the likes, which was predominantly a male-dominated industry. So it was a really good experience there. But I would say that I've always been quite ambitious and I've always needed transparency as to what was next for me, what was I working towards. And I quite quickly realised after being there a while that actually there wasn't much more I could do with my experience there. And it was around that point that an opportunity arose to work within banking. So yeah, a completely different industry. But what really drew me towards that was there was a clear career path, and I really liked the idea of that. So I ended up working for the Halifax Bank. And after spending a little while there, I really missed the marketing aspect that I'd started with. I'd done at college, I'd done in my first job role. So I was really keen to bring that back into a role that I was working on. And an opportunity came up within a regeneration partnership, which was an arm's length organisation of the local council. So it was a really different take on my working life, I guess. And I just liked the fact, again, it was in another industry. So I was just drawing on lots of different experiences all the time. So following that time there, I ended up working for a company called JLA, which was a private equity-backed business supplying commercial laundry, catering, heating and fire safety equipment to businesses across the UK.
Another different industry then.
Completely different industry again. So I told you it was quite a journey.
I know, so yeah, it sounds like it's quite a fascinating journey because you've had your experience in so many different industries. So yeah. which is amazing. Do you think all this kind of varied experience, how has that helped you in tech? Is tech different or similar?
Yeah, I mean, every industry that I've worked in, I feel, or every role that I've worked in certainly has almost led to the next role. So, you know, I never thought I want to work in tech. I never really understood it. And if I think back to, you know, even down to being at school, and I never knew what I wanted to do. I never thought I want to, you know, to be marketing director. I didn't realize that then. I knew that I enjoyed being creative and having ideas and, you know, telling a story and all that side of things. But I didn't have that specific idea, this is what I want to do. So actually, I took something from every role and every industry, and I would say that it kind of led me on this path. I suppose in the later years of working for JLA, we became more aware of how technology could help us to deliver a better service to our customers. So it was a huge part of how we could evolve the customer experience. What was the service we were delivering to them, and how could we enhance that? So we were looking at connectivity in terms of machines, and through technology, we were able to get sort of real insights into if there was a problem with the product we'd supplied a customer, we could be notified of that problem before the customer knew anything about it. And I guess that really sort of made me mindful of the power of technology. So there's so many experiences like that that I can draw on that help now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, like you said, technology kind of plays a role in all of the industries. In the last 18 months, what sort of opportunities would you say have been, you know, available to you in this industry?
So many. I mean, from a marketing perspective, you know, that's sort of my specialism, and it's really been great for me to work in a different industry again, but also for a much smaller business. It's kind of given me a renewed appreciation of marketing because I've really had to drill down into what marketing channels were going to work for Bespoke as a business. And a big part of that, as I mentioned earlier, is the partnership channel. I think, you know, looking back, it's almost 18 months. I remember at one point just thinking to myself, this industry, the tech industry, is huge. It's so vast. It's ever changing. You know, how am I possibly going to keep on top of everything that's happening and changing all the time? But actually, you know, with that particular challenge comes so much opportunity off the back of it. There's networking events all the time. There are so many businesses and people out there that are really willing to help, and it's opened my eyes, I guess, actually, as to how refreshing it is to see so many different people really sort of cheerleading other businesses, and everybody seems to want everybody else to succeed in the tech industry, has been my experience so far. So in terms of opportunities, I would say, you know, there's opportunities to establish yourself in certain areas, in specialisms. There's chances to speak in different networking events, take part in podcasts like this. I think in terms of opportunity, I think it's really important to kind of plan where you want to go, where you see yourself, what do you want to be working on, and what do you want to get out of it.
Yes, and by you know, what I'm hearing is that you've been very dynamic with your career throughout, and like we were talking about earlier, working for a small business, you end up wearing many hats, don't you? So I guess that in itself gives opportunities of growing yourself and learning constantly, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just having that realization as well that there's a huge difference between doing many things and then doing things of real quality that are actually going to make a difference. And I think the whole don't confuse quantity with quality is really, really important, because, you know, working for a small business, pulling together sort of 3, 6, 12 months plans is great, but things are changing and you are pulled in lots of different directions, and you have to sort of be okay with that, because sometimes you don't get to cross everything off your to-do list. You might not be completely on plan, but actually reflect back on what you've achieved during that time and keep reminding yourself that you're moving in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, which is why I think it's, when I the way you're talking about your role, it's quite entrepreneurial kind of a role, and not just marketing, although you are the marketing director. And I guess all that past experience of, customer experience and sales and all of that, you can draw on that varied experience that you've had in the past. So there's lots of transferable skills as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I look back and there's not been a role that I've worked in where I've not taken something from and can use that experience in this particular role now. I think in terms of trends and where things are going, customer experience is huge, and delivering, a quality deployment first time is really important. But I think as well, it's appreciating the fact that every business is different, and I think what I've found with Bespoke is it's a really young team. There's lots of ideas. It's really refreshing. When I first went for my interview, I was blown away by the passion and enthusiasm of the two founders of the business in terms of what Bespoke was doing, how it could help clients with their digital transformation, and how they use Power Platform to be able to, as a vehicle, I guess, to take people on that digital transformation journey. There's lots of different elements happening all the time, and so many ideas. So there's lots of opportunities, and it's a great place to work, I would say, for sure.
Absolutely. And when we are outside of this industry, did you actually imagine before coming here that you would have these opportunities? Because what I always hear is the perception of this industry from the outside is very different. And it's only when we land here we realize that the opportunities are huge, and it's so fast-paced and so exciting, really.
Yeah, I think, from the outside looking into the tech industry, I would never have dreamed that I would be able to be part of it. I think my misconception was that unless you had experience within the industry, then you wouldn't be able to move into industry. So I think, that I realise now how wrong that was. And I think anybody out there who wants to try the industry, who wants to work within tech, that there is chances, there's opportunities to change from industry for sure, and don't let that put you off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's almost like having an open mind and trying it, keeping that as an option.
Yeah, and I think, certainly with marketing, it is a transferable skill, because the fundamentals of that marketing are the same whatever the industry you're in. But I think what was really crucial for me is really spending the time initially on getting to grips with the industry. So, for us at Bespoke, our sort of specialism is Power Platform. There's numerous different elements within the Power Platform that I had to become familiar with. So as much as marketing is transferable, you still need to know what product and service you're selling. And it took a while to understand what it all meant and how that actually could help our clients. The way I kind of dealt with that was chatting to people constantly and not being afraid to ask questions. I think that's really key, is not being afraid to say, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out for you, I'll come back. Or going away and doing some research, because there are so many rich resources out there to help understand more about what we use within the tech industry, for sure.
And that would be the learning curve in any industry, technology or otherwise. When you're talking about a product or a service, you need to kind of educate yourself as a marketer what you're talking about to be able to help your customers. So I guess that kind of learning curve would be in any industry. And with technology, the resources are so good that actually, and asking questions, absolutely agree. Talking to lots of people, having that network that you can lean on. All of these things actually do support in getting onto that speed learning journey fairly quickly and early on in the career.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, you know, just on the point about networking, I think that's really crucial to get up to speed quickly, because, you know, as we said, there is a whole raft of resources and learning materials within the industry that you can go to. However, it actually can be quite overwhelming because there is so much information, and sort of within that kind of ecosystem, it's almost like, which information is the right information? Where do I start? How can I plan for this? Which is why having a network, to draw and buy network, you know, it's not suddenly, I don't mean just suddenly stumbling into a group that's already established. I mean, you know, when you have conversations with people within different businesses or anything, don't be afraid again to ask them a question, or it might be somebody you know, for a completely different company, or they might not necessarily even work in the industry, but they might be able to offer a new perspective on the questions that you have. And I think that's something that, you know, I certainly am mindful of now and do so much more of, draw on the experience of others to help shape my future experience.
Absolutely, and that's where learning from those best practices is so important, whether they are within the industry, within the organization, or even from a completely different industry. Always drawing on from those best practices and then adapting them to how that fits best in your role or in your industry, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think something that, you know, I'm also mindful of is just keeping perspective on the fact that, of my experience, that if it's taken me a little time or I found something overwhelming, being able to use that when talking to somebody else. If we've got new starters within the business, you know, pointing out the shortcuts that I found or what helped me when I first joined the business and the industry. So just being able to pass that experience on to others, really. And I think that is a really important sort of point to note. I mean, to get more people in the industry, more women in the industry, it's promoting more about the work that we do and that they do. So from my marketing perspective, I'm certainly trying to do more in terms of interviews with our employees, day in the life of how they find the role, what's good about it, just so people have got a clearer view of what to expect if they were to think about working in the industry.
Yeah, and that's a very positive outlook to have, you know, where like women are helping other women. Like you said, you're helping more women get into the industry and helping them early on in their journey. And that's what we need, women supporting other women, you know.
And, you know, you mentioned earlier on opportunities, and I think just on that point, technology is never going to stand still. It's ever changing, as it should be. You know, as soon as a fantastic solution has been developed, we're moving on to the next thing. We never accept that that's it. It's always evolving. So of course there's so much opportunity, and that opportunity doesn't just come from within tech. You know, we need fresh pairs of eyes constantly to be able to draw on their experiences in different sectors as to how they've delivered products and solutions that have really delighted their clients and made their clients' lives so much easier and productive and accurate. I think it's really important.
Absolutely. And like you said, in your case as well, you've had that multiple industry experience, and sometimes, and you know, we get that fresh perspective because it's coming from a different industry, and that should not be a barrier, or should not be considered a barrier by women to say, I'm not in this industry, so maybe I don't have the experience to be part of tech. On the contrary, coming from a different industry could actually be quite a plus, a big plus to get the fresh perspective, new ideas into this industry. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think even, you know, for me, that kind of inquisitive nature of always asking questions, even now I'll often chat with, friends and colleagues of mine from other industries, just to get their perspective on something that I might be working on or something that I might be doing, just because I appreciate that feedback and that thoughts. I have quite a few like regular catch-up sessions as well with our non-exec director, and he's worked in business for many years across lots of different industries, and it's quite nice to bounce ideas off him and get his sort of view on take on things as well. So I think that kind of, whether you want to call it, mentoring relationship or whatever, I think, that's important as well. So I think don't be afraid to go out there and find somebody that you might want to learn from, or you might aspire to be, and you want to be able to take. You might look at them and think what they've achieved is amazing. I actually think, go for it. Ask if they would mind being a mentor, or if they mind having a chat about career progression, development, because I think people would be happy to do that.
It's all a way of supporting you and your career in technology.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I've had a really positive experience in my time in the industry. I consider myself incredibly fortunate that I work for a progressive business who believe in flexibility. So that's really helped me enormously. And that was a big part of the appeal as well, because whilst I wanted to get into a different industry, I think having that work-life balance was really important for me. I've got 2 boys and they're 12 and 7. So they're at an age where they still want me around. I still want to be around. I don't want to be spending hours necessarily traveling on the motorway, when what I can do within tech, you can do far more now remotely. So I think that's really important. It's definitely one to consider. And I know that not every business is the same, but I think as an industry, huge advancements have been made when it comes to flexibility and work-life balance.
Brilliant. So any other tips would you like to give to women who are looking to explore a career in technology? And any top tips you'd like to share for them?
Do some research first. Think about what area specifically you want to work in, or what you're experienced in. It's, as I mentioned before, it's really vast and varied is the industry. So if you can just even reach out before you make the jump and chat to people about their roles, I think that would really help. I've mentioned it before as well about don't be afraid to ask questions. I think it's really crucial to do that. And from my experience so far is that everybody I've come across is happy to help. They're happy to answer questions. And we've mentioned it a few times during this conversation, but a big one is the networking group. And it just might be people from whether it's within the sector or actually out of the sector, but it might be within your discipline. So I have quite a big marketing network, which I can use to draw on for specific marketing things. But again, that perspective's nice, perspective's key. And I think finally, just go for it. What have you got to lose?
Exactly, just take the plunge.
We've both done it, so if it can work for us, I'm sure it can work for many other people.
Absolutely, that's great advice. Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you so much for joining me today. It was great chatting to you, and thank you to all our listeners, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this special series, Coffee with Women in Tech, from B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. This was hosted by Harpreet Narang. Tune in again to listen to another great story. To not miss an episode, subscribe today in your favorite podcast platform.